All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A parent tells you he's not learning anything with you. This program doesn't work. You know the data show consistent improvement based on visual analysis of the graphs. How should you respond to the parent? This is a very important idea, especially as a behavior technician, where we are a data driven science and a data driven therapy, and we're making decisions and conclusions based on the data. It's very easy for stakeholders and especially parents who are in the day in and day out routine of their child to either see progress that isn't there or no progress when progress is there. So we have to always go back to what the data show that you should be taking correctly and then rely on that to reaffirm how the program is doing. So if this parent says the program doesn't work, but data show consistent improvement, what should you do? How should you respond? A, inform the parent that the child has in fact demonstrated progress despite what they might believe. Now, you want to be careful here, right? You want to use data to support your belief or our belief of how the program is going, but you don't just want to tell the parent that they're wrong without using that data as support for what you're explaining to them. B, agree with the parent and continue running the program as instructed. Well, you don't want just to agree with them because if data show that there is improvement and they say there is no improvement, then obviously you don't want to just blindly agree with their conclusion. C, acknowledge the parent and present the data, then ask them to contact the supervisor. Perfect, right? As the RBT, to maintain that rapport you have with the parent, acknowledge their concern, show them what your data show, and then say, contact my supervisor. They can discuss it with you further because data do indicate there's some improvement, but whatever concerns you may be having, your supervisor can help you with. D, request that the parent be patient as behavior change can take time. While true, this is not going to be the best approach. If they're already to the point where they're saying he's not learning anything, the program doesn't work, telling them to be patient might have the opposite effect. So instead of that, use the data as support and then send them off to your supervisor who can discuss with them further. You're running a multiple stimulus with replacement preference assessment. After the client picks bubbles, you place the bubbles back with new items and present the array again. The caregiver asks, why do you keep putting bubbles back if he already picked them? What do you explain? Let's start with what a multiple stimulus with replacement assessment is. Let's say we have 3 items for simplicity's sake, and B is our bubbles. If the client picks bubbles, so let's say the client picks bubbles, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to then replace the bubbles and get some new items in there, right? So we've got bubbles still in our array with some new items. The caregiver says, well, why do you keep putting bubbles back if you already picked them? What's the explanation for this? What's the reason behind the multiple stimulus with replacement assessment? A, multiple stimulus with replacement always replaces the chosen item to see if it's consistently preferred across trials. Sure, right? That is one reason to do it. If we have bubbles and A and C aren't chosen, and then bubbles and then D and E aren't chosen, then we know bubbles, despite what else is in the array and what is being replaced, is still likely preferred. So it's a good way to see if something is, let's say, highly preferred over these other items. B, multiple stimulus with replacement is about removing chosen items to identify a ranked order. No, not necessarily, right? If you have a without replacement, then we're removing items systematically. C, the chosen item is replaced only if the client immediately chooses it. Again, not true. If the array is out there for a few seconds, maybe a minute, depending on how long you're giving them, it's not necessarily how quick they choose it, it's what they choose. D, you replace items so the child always has a preferred item in the array. Again, not necessarily. We do want to look at other items, right? But it is going to help us to see how consistent are they choosing this same item, even when presented with new items. At recess, a student repeatedly pushes peers while waiting for the swing. The teacher implements a system where if the student pushes, they immediately lose 2 minutes of recess time. After a week, pushing decreases significantly. What best explains why pushing decreased? Now, immediately identify this as a behavior change question. And when you see a behavior change question, you're asking yourself, how did the behavior change? In this case, pushing decreased. So anytime something decreases, we think punishment or we think extinction. In this case, a student repeatedly pushes peers. The teacher has a system. If pushing, you lose 2 minutes of recess time. So, what is the consequence? Is something added or something taken away? Well, they're taking away 2 minutes of recess time. Negative, reduction, punishment. Remember, punishment is the addition or the subtraction, so the positive or negative of something. Extinction is withholding something, right? Here, the consequence is the loss of 2 minutes, a taken away of 2 minutes, negative, decreasing punishment. If we look at A, negative reinforcement, that behavior would have increased, which we know it did not. B, negative punishment is what we predicted. C, positive punishment would have been an addition, but we know we took it away. And DRO is reinforcement for a behavior not happening, which isn't what occurred. If you can break down behavior change questions like that, especially during practice, eventually you'll get very quick at this. And all you're going to have to see is behavior decreased. I'm thinking punishment or extinction. Consequence was removal, negative punishment. Answer it, move on. That's why practice is so important. During math class, a student often complains loudly when given a worksheet. The teacher has learned that if she removes the worksheet after the complaining, the student quiets down immediately. Over time, the student begins complaining as soon as worksheets are handed out. What explains best what is happening? All right, back-to-back behavior change questions. How did the behavior change here? Well, we know the student is now complaining when the worksheets are handed out. So something is increasing. We have a student complaining loudly when given a worksheet. The teacher then removes the worksheet after the complaining, and the student quiets down. So if the student complains, what happens? The worksheet is removed. So removal is negative, and the complaining continues. Appears to be negative reinforcement. Let's look at A. The student's behavior is being negatively reinforced because the removal of the worksheet follows complaining. Yes, the teacher gives worksheet, student complains, worksheet removed. What happens? Complaining increases because of the removal. That's negative reinforcement. Let's read all of our answer choices. B, the student's behavior is being positively reinforced because the teacher pays attention when they complain. Well, it's not about the attention, right? It's all about this removal. Very important we look at what is that consequence? What do we believe the function to be? We're all about the removal of a demand here. C, the student's behavior is being punished because worksheets are taken away. Well, no, the complaining increases, right? The student begins complaining as soon as the worksheets are handed out. So that behavior was not punished. D, the teacher is using extinction because she stops presenting worksheets after complaints. She's not stopping the worksheets, right? Because worksheets are still being handed out, and she's not stopping the removal. If she were to follow through with demands, then that behavior would be on extinction. Very good question here to help you kind of, in your mind, distinguish between extinctions and punishments and what happens and really identify what's my behavior, what's my consequence, what's the result. You are reviewing a graph with your supervising behavior analyst. The client's independent request increased steadily for 3 weeks, then plateaued for a week and a half. The analyst asks for your input. What is the most appropriate observation to share based on these trends? All right, we're looking at trends here. You're looking at the graph with your analyst. The client's independent request increased steadily for 3 weeks. So let's just pretend this is week 1, week 2, week 3, and then what happens? We plateau. What conclusion can we draw based on this trend, right? We have an upward trend and then a plateau. A, the client is still making progress because the skill isn't at 100% yet. Well, we don't know that. We don't know what 100% means, and we don't know if they're making progress. For the last week and a half, they've made no progress. So be careful here. B, the plateau suggests progress slowed. Yeah, if we have this steep increase and then we're flat, well, it looks like progress has slowed down somewhat. C, data are invalid because trends must always keep rising. Definitely not. Trends can go up, trends can go down, trends can start flat. They don't always have to rise. D, give your subjective opinion on client progress. Never give a subjective opinion. Always, always, always use data. Use your graphs. Your best friend, because data should not lie if you're taking data correctly. Always, always, always look at the data, look at the graphs, make your opinion from there. So, what this says or suggests is progress has slowed because it has plateaued. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.